What's up, Assassins, and welcome to the premiere episode of First Cut. This is a new video series where I run down my initial impressions of any game that I may be playing for the first time. Most of them will be new, but there may be some that are a tad bit older, since trying to keep track of every new release is a time-consuming and very expensive process, especially if you're not considered part of the gaming press yet. And what better way to kick off the series than with the latest entry in the Yakuza franchise, Yakuza Zero. For a little bit of my history of the franchise, I've been playing and following these games since the release of the original Yakuza on PS2 in North America circa 2006. So I'm always excited when there's a new entry in the franchise and it actually makes its way to the West, considering there was a while there where Sega just upped and stopped publishing them stateside for a few years after Yakuza 4, and then came back with Yakuza 5 in 2015. Hence why we're a little behind on the games compared to Japan. Yakuza Zero is the first entry in the franchise to also be ported to the PS4, and the first game in the series to not take place in the year of its release, while still having important ties to the overall story. Taking place on December 9th, 1988, it tells the beginnings of the legendary Kiryu Kazuma, freshly appointed into the Tojo clan as a member of the Dojima family, along with his best friend Nishiki. But not only does this show us a much more unrefined, rugged, and brazen Kiryu, for the first time in the series, you're also allowed to play as Goro Majima. Now, because this is the latest entry in the franchise, at least in the West anyway, it comes with its own slew of gameplay improvements. For example, side quests now happen more organically as you explore the cities and head to your next objective, a much needed change compared to the previous titles that would just overwhelm you with the amount of quests that appear on the map. And so far I've met a host of rather interesting characters along the way. Activities range from the usual karaoke, which has some pretty amazing moments for both characters that I highly recommend experiencing at least once in your playthrough.
Hey, 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 hey! Yay, yay, yay!
Then there's gambling, hostess clubs, but there are also some new activities, such as an adult video parlor in which you can watch videos of real Japanese adult video idols and some of the most softcore of softcore videos. These are available, of course, to both Kiryu and Majima to go and watch at any time of the day. The standard leveling up system is gone in place of a new character investment system that allows players to invest money they've earned from the booming Japanese economy in the 80s into themselves. You literally invest in yourself to earn stat boosts like health and heat gauge increases, and also new abilities, some of which have to be unlocked by learning them from the usual masters you meet throughout the story. Investing in yourself to improve these stats seems to be pretty straightforward and easy, as each battle you get into literally has money flying out of your enemies based on the actions you took to look cool in combat, from heat gauge attacks to finishers. While this does take a layer off the RPG-like aspect of these games, it also makes sense to have, as each character now has 3 different fighting stances to pick from, something different from what some of the previous games did by having 4 different characters, each with their own fighting style and stats. And because of the time period and our younger protagonists, combat feels more visceral, and each style unrefined and more brawler-like than the last. One new system in the game sees a character known as Mr. Shakedown, who shows up in many forms in each city looking to hunt you down and steal every yen you have. They can be easily avoided for those not familiar or skilled in the combat, or, for the brave and bold, can be taken on and rewarded for victory depending on whatever amount of yen each Mr. Shakedown has on hand. It's a mechanic that I'm not the most keen on, as the idea of this constant anxiety catalyst lurking the streets looking to break you for every yen you have is not the most welcoming, even to newcomers to the series. An enemy that I've encountered randomly a few times so far, but does a little to break up the monotony of going from point A to point B that makes up the foundation of what you do in these games. In my experience with the game so far, it does a great job of giving you a general idea, if not accurate, of what the 80s were like in Japan. Walking into arcades takes you into a blast from the past of classic Sega goodness, allowing you to play staple arcade titles such as Space Harrier and Outrun. And while I haven't seen it yet, I'm pretty sure Super Hang-On is hiding out in the game world just waiting to be found. These games were a big part of my childhood growing up, and seeing them in-game certainly adds a bit of groundedness to the in-game world and its time period. So far, Yakuza Zero is shaping up to be a great love letter to fans of the series and a welcoming start for newcomers to the franchise. It's a symbol of developers that not only love video games, but their home country as well. And it shows through the many aspects of how the world is portrayed and the hilarious characters you meet along the way. I'll be sure to give my full review of this title in the very near future, but until then, stay sharp, Assassins, and I'll see you next time.